So you've gone out on a limb. You started this amazing business. It's thriving. You're ready for growth. But do you know some of the key metrics you need to look out for to ensure that you actually grow and you're not tripped up because you don't understand your numbers well enough? What to look out for, what you're doing well, where your gaps are. Do you understand your business finances? Hello Lionesses, welcome to the Lioness Grotto, a space for women founders and entrepreneurs to share their journey, be encouraged, know you're not alone, you are limitless. My name is Anna Njoroge, founder and CEO of Waidara Beauty, and today I want to talk about your business in finance terms, the matrices that are presented very simply. Sometimes they sound really complicated, especially when cup of tea, cup of coffee, and let's chat. Welcome. Finances, things to look out for. Trips up a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs and founders, because a lot of us do not come from the background of finances, and it sounds complicated. Your finance person, your accountant is talking to you and it literally sounds like wah, wah, wah. Big words, you tune off and focus on other things. But it is so important to understand. You don't have to be an expert. You just need to know in order to ask the right questions and get expertise when you need it. So what do you need to know? I am going to be using my laptop today, so if you see me looking down, that's what it is. I did this presentation at Kayana for a founders meeting, and we were talking about growth and why finances are important. The first thing you need to understand is your pricing. There is no business without understanding pricing, because this is how your profit is determined. Are you priced properly? It is okay to understand how the market is pricing, how your competitor is pricing, and it is good to put that into perspective when you're doing your pricing, but it shouldn't be the key factor in how you price. You also need to look at what is your value proposition. Is it better than your competitor? So let's say, for example, you look at your competitor and how they're pricing, and you decide to price lower for competitive value, but you are offering a better proposition. Are you really helping your customer or your business? Actually, you're the one losing. Your customer is still getting what they need to get. But is your business going to grow and thrive if you don't price appropriately? If you sell through other customers, like we do, in the cosmetics business, we focus on brand building, manufacturing, and creating products. We let other people or persons of other businesses focus on the retail aspect of it. But what is our wholesale price? How do you build into your cost? You need to make sure you're building this properly so that you don't end up losing money and you have an adequate margin to cover what you need or your business, and you're not losing money and not growing fast enough because you didn't price appropriately. One of the reasons this is important is, remember, you can't keep increasing price all the time, because then your credibility goes down. So you have to make sure you price properly. What is your build up? How much does it cost you to make the good or deliver the service? What is your margin? Is your margin sufficient? What is your marketing cost? What's your sales cost to get this into the market? Have the different prices. What is your retail price? And have a recommended retail price. If you do offer a discount, what does that get you, and what discount still allows you to make money? And how many units would you need to have sold before you can even give a discount? So pricing is very important. How you build up your value proposition, make sure the price is not the driver, that you know what value you are offering and why it justifies the price you're offering. I know a lot of us get caught up in how much is a competitor pricing. It's good to know, it's good to understand, but it shouldn't be the single driver on how you price. Remember, don't price yourself out of the market, but also give yourself the value that your business deserves. The other thing you need to understand is your break even. What is break even? Break even is where you get to basically your sales cover your expenses, or your revenue covers all your costs, whether it's cost of goods sold or the direct cost that you use or that goes into generating the revenue, and all your other expenses, salaries, admin, anything you put into that business, where you get it at zero, meaning you're not making money, but you're also not losing money. If you make good, you need to understand where that break even is. How many units do I need to sell, and at how much, in order for me to get to break even? Because until you get to break even, you can't get to profit. That is your first step. At least you're not losing money, and then we can now discuss profit. It's very important to know that number because it also helps you plan. Let's say it's week 2 of the month, you haven't met your projections, you're behind, you have multiple lines, you know, what do we need to sell more of this, and you can strategize and adjust your strategy in order to make sure that you don't get to a place that you are losing money. Know your break-even point. Calculate it with your accountant, and if you'd like another videos talking deeper about break even, please do let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it, about finances. I'm not saying become the expert, but understand it to be able to ask questions. If you don't know it and know how to calculate it, find someone who does. And let me know if you need me to look into it, but know enough to be able to ask the right questions, because this is how your business will grow. So your break-even is very, very important, because you can't start making a profit until you're actually first at zero. Your revenue, your cost, we're at zero. Then now we know from here how many more units or how many more clients do we need on board in order to make a profit. Break even, very, very important. The other thing you need to understand is your cash flow. We all need cash to grow our businesses. Cash is king, because you can't operate if you don't have the money you need. So know how much money you need in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, in a year. So plan it out. Again, I'm not saying you, but have someone put that in for you so you can look at it and know and adjust accordingly on what you need in collections, in supplies, in new products coming in, new client acquisition, in marketing costs. Because if we don't know our cash flow, then we might get into a point where we are completely, basically, against the corner. We're stuck. Business can't move. You can't buy raw materials. You can't pay your workers, and that could make the business close. So knowing your cash flow, how much money you need, where you're getting this money. I did a video prior to this that spoke about how to manage your cash flow appropriately. Please go watch that video and do say in the comment if I should do a more detailed video on how to actually look at those numbers and understand them. So your cash flow, king. We all know this. Cash is king. You can't move, you can't operate, you can't thrive, you can't grow. Even water, basic. The only thing you don't have to pay for is air. So know your cash flow inside out. Know how to read your numbers. I'm not saying, again, not be an expert, but understand it so you know which questions to ask and how to plan. The other one is knowing your tax regulatory framework for your business and what is needed, when they are due, what taxes are there. Like for my business, I know we have VAT, we have excise, we have PAYE, we have so many taxes, and I need to plan for that appropriately and accordingly to make sure that we are meeting the regulation and this is not affecting our business. Because like I keep saying, you need to know what the taxes that govern your business, what those are. Because if you don't, you could end up in a really, really difficult position. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is also a small manufacturer, and we had an interesting conversation because I was telling her why it is important for her to understand her finances. And typical, especially when it comes to women founders, is like, that's too complicated. I don't get it. I am not trying to. But something came up that she told me. She said, in Kenya, if you're a loss-making business, you do not need to be paying quarterly installment in tax because you're not making money. So what are you paying taxes on? But they had this accountant, it's actually a tax person, who was telling them they need to make an installment tax every quarter, even though they were loss-making, and they had been doing this for 3 years, which means if she understood the regulatory framework and what is needed, and also knowing how to read your cash flow statement, you see why your money is going. Eventually, she questioned it and she was like, I don't think this is right, because at least she knows we're not supposed to be paying tax if our business is loss-making. So she brought in an expert to look at it, and the tax expert literally was like, why are you doing this? So these are things that are important to know, because could have saved her a lot of cash flow. And I know it's much harder to actually get a refund. She could have been using that money for something else. So this is why it is important. A quick Google search sometimes can tell you what you need to know. In Kenya, just go to KRA and Google, call them, show up, ask them, and they're actually really good at explaining. In the US, the IRS is actually pretty the same. Information is out there. Try to at least find it and know the basics, at least know enough to understand, and ask the questions and bring in an expert to help you. The other part is understanding on how to read your financial statements. I know a lot of us don't want to be bothered. There are numbers we've been given, we don't know what to look out for. And I'm an accountant, I'm a finance person. I know sometimes when we start talking numbers, we get very excited and we use big words that you don't understand. And a lot of you, or a lot of founders, end up tuning us out. But it is important to know. Do you know how to read your P&L, your profit and loss statement, or your income statement? Know how to read that, because you can look at your revenue, you can look at your percentage, your cost of goods sold, or it's just not goods, but what your margin is for producing your revenue. And if it's too high, you can ask and even look at things to adjust it, because that also increases your profit. You can look at it and go, why are we spending so much on marketing? What is a percentage? Do we really need this much? How can we adjust it? That is so important. What's my profit as a percentage of revenue? Am I really making money? Is it worth to be in this business? Are we spending way too much money in places we shouldn't be? So know how to read your income statement, your P&L. Know how to read your balance sheet. Please look at your receivables. If people owe you money, how many days are you collecting? Why are you not collecting? Because if you're doing sales out there and your receivables are so high, or in Kenya we call it our debtors list, no. If it's really too high, then it means you don't have the cash needed to keep operating the business. Pay attention to that number. What is your debt? What's your accounts payable? Pay attention to those numbers. Know where your business is. Who owes you money? How much do they owe you? Who do you owe money? What is your retained earnings? Or that is a number over the years. Are you negative, which means you've been at a loss making throughout? You haven't been making money. How do you adjust it? Your debt. What's your cash in the bank? Do you have adequate cash, to keep your business in operations? Know how to read your financial statements. If you'd like me to do a video specifically on how to read your financial statements and what numbers you need to pay attention to, please do let me know in the comments. The other one you need to know how to read is your cash flow statement. This tells you where you're spending your money and where your money is coming from. If majority of your money is coming, let's say, from borrowing, or you're putting in money or investment, but yet there's really no growth happening, it means you're not making enough cash from what you're in business to do to fund your business. And that is a problem. However, if you're getting money from these different other sources just to expand and grow and invest, then yes, but you need to know, where are you getting your money? Where are you spending your money? Is what you're in business for actually bringing in enough money to cover your operations? Which is basically, are we bringing in enough money to cover the expenses of why we are in business? Your cash flow statements. Those three, I would start with those. They're the most important. And sometimes it's a single page. Look at them. Know where to focus. Ask the questions. And if you don't get satisfactory ones, call in an expert. There is no shame in that. So please, understanding your finances is so crucial to your business growth. Do not be ashamed. Ask me questions in the comments. Let me know which videos you would like to do. Again, I'm not telling you to be an accounting or finance expert. Know enough to know the right questions to ask and bring in an expert when you don't feel you are satisfied. Again, when people think you don't know, sometimes they take advantage of you or they lax. They're not looking as numbers as keenly as they should be. But if they know you're looking and you know, it's a whole other different story. Your success depends on it. So, know how to read your numbers, understand enough to ask the right questions. If you haven't subscribed, please do, so we can keep having these conversations. Girl, you got this. Be limitless.